Today, I want to talk about why it's hard to lose weight and how understanding why it's hard can make you better at it by being kinder to yourself and being more patient. We're going to go through 5 things: the challenge, and then the 3 problems: adaptation, hunger, and environment, and then finally some solutions. Let's get on with it. Alright, first up we're going to talk about the challenge, and what I want to point out here is that losing weight and then regaining some of it is completely normal. This is some data from a meta-study, so a study of studies that covered about 7,800 people self-administering their diet, and they looked at the Learn diet, Weight Watchers, Zone, Volumetrics, Atkins, Jenny Craig, Ornish, and low fat. And these blue numbers are the amount of weight that they lost in the first 6 months, which is really impressive, right? So this is in metrics, so kilos. Learn 6 kilos, Weight Watchers 7.3, Zone, blah, blah. Atkins was the best, losing 10 kilos after 6 months. Now, this is really impressive, and people do this all the time. They're successful with a diet in the first kind of 3 to 6 months, and then something very, very normal happens. People start to regain the weight, and it's really important to understand that this is normal behavior. This is the rule rather than the exception. So here is what people's weight looked like after 12 months. So basically, every single example, every single diet, people regained between 6 and 12 months. And it turns out that rather than Atkins being the best at 12 months, low fat was the best at 12 months. Ornish did quite well as well. The point being, I'm not trying to just say that Atkins is a better diet or low fat or whatever. I'm not really that interested in these named diets. But the point is that losing weight and that regaining it is completely normal. And we're going to go through 3 reasons why it's hard and why it's logical that this type of stuff happens. Okay, the first one of our hidden reasons it's hard to lose weight and keep it off is adaptation. Something a lot of people don't understand is when you lose weight, your body will naturally slow down how much energy you spend. You've got hormones send signals to your brain and they reduce your energy expenditure. A good example of this was a study, I don't know, maybe 2006 or something, when they took people they measured their energy expenditure. It was up at 2,844 calories, and then they stuck them on a 25% deficit for 3 months to lose some weight and see what happened. So what happened was, they lost, over the course of the 3 months, they did lose 6 kilos, so about 13 pounds. But the thing that we're interested in is the adaptation. And this is one of the reasons why weight loss slows as you go on. So what happened in this case was, over 3 months, their total energy expenditure dropped by about 450 calories. 450 calories. And this would have slowed the rate of weight loss dramatically. Well, it did, from, well above a pound a week to below. And this is something that people often don't understand as their weight loss goes on. It's one of the reasons why you need to adjust, because your total energy expenditure will reduce, and even while you're adding exercise, you'll find that your body is just going to get more efficient, and this is a starvation response to stop you losing weight. It's a natural mechanism, but it makes losing weight hard. And understanding that adaptation can really help you be patient and kind of understand the challenge. Okay, the second of the hidden enemies when we're trying to lose weight and keep it off is hunger. There were some recent studies which are really fascinating, which is an attempt to try and quantify the changes in appetite in response to weight loss. And there's some pretty grim reading, but they do help us to kind of comprehend the scale of the challenge. What this was a really kind of geeky summary, but basically they took energy intake and they crashed it down to like about 2,000 calories from 2,700. So similar kind of 25% deficit. And then it gradually crept back up. Energy expended dropped a little bit, but what we see is in response to the big deficit, there's a huge spike in appetite, and it takes a long, long time for that spike in appetite to go away. So the idea being that I think it came out that for every pound you lost, there was a commensurate increase in hunger for about 100 calories per day, which is pretty serious. And this is something that people really struggle with. The second that they start to get a deficit going, it can be eaten away by just gradual hunger and a little bit of food there and a little bit and it's a real challenge, particularly when we live in an environment of hyper-palatable food. Now, the last of our hidden reasons why it is hard to lose weight and keep it off is the environment, particularly the food environment. And what I'm actually talking about is the food. We are surrounded these days by hyperpalatable food, by food that has been engineered to be addictive, it's super calorie dense, and it's really cheap relative to our incomes. Like the food that is kind of really, I wouldn't call it fattening, but food that helps you overeat is really, really cheap. I think the simplest, I've got some charts in an article I'm going to show you in a minute, which basically shows how much of the increase in calories from the American population has come from snack food ingredients, and in particular, vegetable oil and flour, which are the cheapest ingredients for a lot of processed foods, make up the vast majority of the increase in the intake in calories. And basically, we're kind of snacking ourselves into obesity, and it's really understandable because these foods are just so easy to overeat. Now, I'm just going to try and explain with a geeky little pyramid that basically, in nature, originally foods, predominantly, if you consider protein, fat, and carbohydrates, where the energy is coming from, you'll find that, okay, we've got meats up here, there's meats, and then there's fatty meats down here, and then fats, you've got kind of oils and nuts and whatever, maybe with some carbs. But then you've got a whole host of vegetables and grains, are very carb-centric or whatever. And if you look at the foods that you're very likely to overeat in life, like chocolate, ice cream, pizza, Oreos, Doritos, anything that you think, you will find that it is very often has very little protein and has a very even mix of fats and carbs. And it's got that perfect amount of sugar and salt added to the vegetable oil and the flour, and we can eat that stuff all day. And when you're trying to lose weight, you really need to think about the foods that you're eating, because your goal is to stay full in a deficit. And making good food choices is literally the start of that. Okay, so I hope in this video you've gleaned there are 3 reasons why it is hard to lose weight and keep it off. Your body will adapt to try and conserve its fat mass. It will increase your hunger levels to try and conserve its fat mass. And you've got to do that in a food environment where we're surrounded by kind of hyper-palatable food that's been engineered for us to overeat out of cheap ingredients. So it's hard. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about the system that I use with clients and I've used myself to lose weight. But if in the meantime you'd like to kind of kick on and do some more reading, I'd highly recommend you check out this blog post, which I'm going to link to in a minute. And basically, it's kind of helping you reverse the idea of hyperpalatable food and ask, well, what is the most filling food? And filling foods, for me, filling foods are your primary tools for getting lean. They are your primary tools for losing weight. And I've written an entire blog post. It's my favorite piece on the whole website. So yeah, if you're interested, I recommend going and checking it out, because it's a fascinating read and it can help you, teach you kind of what foods you should be gravitating towards to try and keep you full.